Night live stream hosted by your LeGrand Alive TV. Your hosts tonight are local political expert and EOU alumni, Alex McCadden. Plus yours truly, the host of LeGrand Alive with no real credentials to his name to speak of, Will Bowman. This show is brought to you by our fantastic sponsors, including Le Baby Cakes, Med Transport, Grand Ron Hospital, Thai Fresh, EONI, Nature's Pantry, Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Red Cross Drugstore, and the Union County Chamber of Commerce. And here's your host for the first section of the show, Will Bowman. Welcome, LeGrand Alive, to the LeGrand Alive Election Night live stream. I'm Will Bowman, and you are watching here tonight our live coverage of the November 2018 municipal and state elections. Tonight we are going to be bringing you interviews as well as several updates, multiple updates over the course of the evening about what's happening in the elections. But before we get into this, I want to talk a little bit about voting. Many of you are voters. Many of you vote in state, national, and municipal elections. And while sometimes it is tempting to believe that municipal elections don't carry as much weight as state and national elections do, it's important to remember that municipal elections have equal, if not more, power to make change in our world than state and national ones do. When you vote in local elections, you're not just voting for a party, you're voting for people. One of the things that is very beautiful about our small town is that we have politicians, people who run for state and local office, who are people just like you and me. People who are not just a facade created by social media. They're not just someone you see on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram every day, even though you are going to be seeing them in that context tonight. They're people that fix your cars. They're people that have law offices right down the street from you. They're people that have grandkids and kids that play soccer or football or baseball with yours. These are people exactly like you, exactly like me, who have cares and desires. They have ups and downs, joys and sorrows, and they, like you, care about our small town and our small community here in Union County and are trying to make a difference. And so with that, I want to say on behalf of every person watching here tonight, and all of the people who are going to be joining us to do interviews and to talk a little bit about what's happening, thank you. Thank you for voting in municipal elections. Thank you for tuning in tonight to support the people, win or lose, who put their hearts and their love into what they did in this campaign. That being said, we are on the LeGrand Alive live stream. I'm Will Bowman, and I have somebody here with me in the studio tonight. How's it going, Alex McCadden?
Oh, it is going really well for some people and really poorly for others.
We are starting to see some of the results that are coming in on the internet, but we're not going to get to those yet. Before we do, Alex, who are we going to be talking to tonight? Let's give the viewers a little taste of what's going to be coming.
Well, we have a great selection of local candidates. First off, LeGrand Mayor Steve Clements, running for re-election, is going to be here. Jim Whitbeck for City Council, as well as incumbent councilors Justin Rock running against Mr. Ashley O'Toole, both of whom will be here. Elgin Mayor Alan Duffy is going to be participating. We're going to have Ken Wisdom of the Yes on Measure 3196 campaign. Mona and Wes Williams, both running for judge, no relation. Greg Barretto for state representative, and Jamie McLeod-Skinner sent in a statement for us.
And I believe we also have Newt Bueller, a quick interview with Newt Bueller later on in the evening as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've got quite the rundown tonight, LeGrand Alive. So stay tuned. We're going to be back after this brief commercial break with the first of our interviews and the first of your results coming to you live from LeGrand Alive.
Mad dash.
So, we're just looking for some simple photos and videos of our new coffee shop. How can you help us?
We'll shoot the entire thing on a green screen soundstage. We'll have Julie Andrews guest star, and we'll include 3 big band dance numbers sung by the ghosts of Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire.
One word, transformation. freaking formers. Your coffee pot, it's not a coffee pot. It's Roastiest Prime. Also, we're in a needle Lamborghini.
Johnny Depp, painted in Munch-styled surrealism, is accompanied by Johnny Depp, who is dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, who are being chased by the villain of this story, which will be played by Emma Watson, who is also dressed as Johnny Depp.
I've got my dad's old 8mm camera somewhere out in the shed.
Oh, thank God.
Okay, the hospital just told you you're going out of town for a higher level of care. Stop! Did you know that you have options? If you're being transported to another hospital and your emergency isn't immediate, have the hospital call MedTransport. MedTransport is your dedicated advanced life support interfacility ambulance service. We offer ground ambulance transports with services that save you and your insurance company a lot of money. If you're stable and able to go by a ground resource, we're here for you. So, before you or your loved one gets transferred, stop. Ask for MedTransport because you have options. Welcome back, La Grande Alive, to your La Grande Alive election night live stream. We have some results for here, but before we get into that, I want to give a big shout out to the first of our excellent sponsors who sponsored this live stream tonight, and also who had the disservice of not being in the introduction. So we're going to give a big thank you to Eastern Oregon Network, Inc. They are a wonderful local internet provider service. They do wonderful things to provide an alternative to people who are passionate about spending their money locally, especially for something as central to modern life as internet. So that's Eastern Oregon Network, Inc. Thank you for sponsoring tonight's live broadcast. So, Alex, what's going on? What are some of the stats, man? Tell us.
First results from the Secretary of State are in. Newt Buehler is losing to Governor Kate Brown for her re-election campaign. U.S. Congress, Greg Walden is beating Jamie McLeod-Skinner by almost 30,000 votes.
Wow.
Greg Barretto has quite a large margin over Sky Farnham, the independent candidate. Measure 3196 is way ahead of the no vote. For City Council position 7, Justin Rock has about 300 more votes than Mr. Ashley O'Toole. And then for the Elgin Mayor, Alan Duffy has over twice as many as the other candidate, Mr. John Rutherford, so far.
Have we heard anything about the circuit court judge?
Not yet.
Not yet. No results coming in from the circuit court judge. But that's okay. We're going to be here all night, and we are going to be seeing more. So, as the first guest of tonight, we have somebody in our studio. Who is it? It's Mayor Steve Clemens.
Hey,
where did
Will.
you come from?
Actually, I came from a cozy couch and
This is true. We do have a habit of doing that on election night.
a frosty beer that didn't get drunk.
You should have brought it. You could
No,
have
no,
drunk it on camera.
no.
We are
We
pro
need-
drinking beer on
We need
camera
to be
here.
professional here. I will say, though, that I checked before I came in. I was sitting at the computer and I checked on the circuit court judge. Wes Williams was up 55% to Mona Williams 44%.
Wow.
But that's the first call for Union County, and I don't know what that. I don't know whether that factored in Wallowa County or not.
Right.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
So, as mayor of La Grande, the first thing is what are your initial thoughts about the results thus far? And keep in mind, La Grande Alive, a lot can happen from now on.
Yeah, the things that you've got up on the screen, they just make sense to me. I mean, having lived here in Union County long enough to know generally what the pulse of voters are, the results are not surprising. I'm glad to see that Alan Duffy will be returning as the mayor of Elgin. Alan has done some spectacular things out there, and he's really kind of energized the community and focused them around a lot of key. He understands the community and he's focused the people around those things.
Right.
And I think that's good. The other things, it's Union County, and I kind of expected those things. I'm interested to see, obviously, the results between Justin Rock and Ashley O'Toole.
I think that one could be a race.
It could be. People will speculate that the numbers that come out now tend to hold.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how many votes are in for LeGrand. I thought there were like 1,900 when I looked on the website.
17,000 now have been received for Union County.
For Union County. For LeGrand, I thought it was about, I don't know, I don't know. Anyway.
He'll pull that up while
Okay.
we're talking.
So, you know, both Ashley and Justin have really real strengths, and either one of them will add or complement the council as it sits now.
Right.
The other positions that are out there, mine, Gary Lillard's, and Jim Whitbeck, we're all running unopposed.
So you're kind of in unless someone comes and by the sheer power of force takes it from you.
Yeah, I don't know that has ever happened.
Probably not.
And I certainly hope that doesn't happen.
Right.
So the council is setting up with Jim and whoever wins between Ashley and Justin.
All of which we will have on the show later tonight.
Right.
So now my one question for you while you're here on camera, because we're going to be cooking through these things pretty quickly, is
Certainly.
you are someone who is very passionate about local politics. You were a business professor up at EOU. And I think one thing that I've noticed is that younger people like me have a hard time making the connection between change and local politics and being involved with local politics, because they're disconnected, they're not necessarily sure that this is where they're going to be. Why is it important for younger people like Alex and I to be involved with local politics and just in general?
You're the future. You will inevitably decide how things will go. And the future happens very often on election night. And in terms of the types of policies and the types of decisions that are made in the community. And by being engaged in your early 20s, 18 when you're eligible to vote, and most certainly as you get older into your late 20s, maybe you stay here and you start a family, or you meet someone, you decide you want to stay. You have an opportunity to shape the direction and the future of your community. And I moved here in 1990, in June of 1990. In 92, and I was all of 33 years old. In 1992, I ran for government. I ran for my first position on city council.
Right.
And why? Because I felt the need to be involved. And I felt that it was important. That was one way that I could go beyond just voting. But it's not just voting. It's a statement of your beliefs and matching it up with all the other people who out there who feel the same way. And I think when you abdicate your right to vote, you abdicate, you express an apathy for the future. And you need to take your future in seriously.
Very, very, very well said. I think there was a good quote in there that I thought could go really, really well in a meme. But I can't remember it now, so
We'll go back and watch.
I was going to say, we'll make a meme later.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you very much.
LeGrand Alive, we are going to be heading out here. We'll be right back with more updates on the election night results, as well as another interview with another local personality. So stay tuned to LeGrand Alive's election night live stream. Your wedding. Your child's first steps, him blowing out the candles, her playing in the yard. These are memories, your past, and with all the changes in your life, it's important to remember how it was. We can help with that. At Anything to Digital, we know that memories are far more precious than the tapes they're recorded on. Whatever the memory, whatever the medium, we can help preserve these little glimpses of the good old days so you can watch them again and again. Anything to Digital, let's preserve your memories. Transport Inc. is a dedicated ground interfacility advanced life support ambulance service. We provide hospital to higher level of care transports. We serve all of Eastern Oregon with transport to hospitals throughout the Northwest. We take patients from emergency rooms, ICUs, and med surgery floors to higher level of care and specialty care facilities. Our service reduces the cost on taxpayers, patients, and insurance companies by providing additional transportation options. We also free up tax-based, local, and air first response resources for on-scene and critical care needs. Request Med Transport for your interfacility transport because you have locally owned transport options. Welcome back, LeGrand Alive, to your election night live stream, only on LeGrand Alive. We are here today giving you the live results as well as some interviews with local personalities. So before we get into our next interview, Alex, do we have any updates on any of the results that we should inform our viewers of?
Well, the patterns haven't changed. Many more people have voted in all the races we just talked about, but candidates that were ahead still have quite large leads. Newt Buehler is doing less well against Kate Brown than Bud Pierce did a few years ago, looks like. Greg Walden's margin against Jamie McLeod-Sklinner has actually grown to about 43,000 from 30,000.
Wow.
And Greg Barretto's lead over Sky Farnham has grown by 8,000.
Wow. A lot of people were talking about sort of how close these elections were going to be, but it doesn't seem like it's shaping out to be that way.
Yeah, I know the race between Mr. Ashley O'Toole and Councillor Justin Rock has also kind of stayed the same. That has had the actual most votes of any position for the Grand City.
Wow. There you go. All right.
More than the mayor vote.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, so we have another of our interviewees in the studio, and it is Mr. Ken Wisdom. Mr. Ken, thank you for joining us here today. Now, Mr. Ken is he is sort of the central guy on the yes for ballot measure 3196, also known as the Second Amendment Preservation Ordinance. And he's here today to chat with us a little bit about his thoughts on the results, as well as a little bit about the ballot. So, what do you think so far? So far, it seems like you're doing pretty well.
I just seen the results, and so far, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm tickled with it.
Yeah. So
it's
I
really
think we're going to
good.
get those results up on the screen here in just 1 second. But so, are there any other of the results that you thought that you were surprised about, or that you had thoughts about, or was that kind of in keeping with what you were thinking?
Other
of the results. Yeah.
I didn't really look at them too much because I was kind of focused.
Fair enough.
Hearing though, it seems like things are rolling right along. They're getting the counts in, and there's some close races.
All right, yeah, absolutely. So, Alex, tell us a little bit about the information that's up right now. What's some of the numbers that we got going on for the Second Amendment Preservation Ordinance?
Well, it looks like most of the votes counted so far are from Union County. You look at the county clerk's website, and she hasn't, or their office hasn't been able to count a lot of the other races from around town. Looks like some of the more outlying cities are finally coming in. So we'll probably know in a few minutes how people in other communities besides the Grand are voting.
There you go. So we did quite a bit of investigation into this ordinance on the Newsish roundups and those kinds of things. And I think that one of the things that's important about this ordinance, and because this is not just an ordinance that's been here in Union County, they've also passed these in Coos County and Baker County and Josephine County as well, is it's kind of focused around the power of government to be able to sort of stand up, the power of local governments and local populace to be able to stand up to more of a national and state government. Why is that question important, and why should those roles be defined?
Well, as a county, it's a lot simpler to go about the process. Mm-hmm. Is one reason that we decided to do it by the county, and we need to protect our counties and our state. And the fastest way that we figured that we could go about it was to go county to county. With doing that, the more counties we get on, kind of sets a precedence of, okay, this is what the citizens want, and a quicker way of going about it individually to where it's more personal.
There you go.
It's more down home to that county. Individual lets them decide instead of having a mass big clump of everybody. Everybody can have their own say at that point.
So it's quicker to get things done.
Right.
Right. So are there other counties in Oregon that have shown interest in passing an ordinance like this one?
Well, there's 10 counties right now that's going to be decided tonight if they pass.
Right.
Actually, Baker County's one of them.
Oh, okay. Baker County's one of them.
The other 4 counties that have already been enacted. There was, I believe, 13 or 14 total. Several of them didn't get their signatures. It was a little too late to get started on gathering signatures. So that's in the process now. Right. That initiative process.
So now it seems right now like it's going to pass. Like, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a lot, unless the, people who are opposed to this ordinance, are hiding somewhere with their ballots and or all turn them in at the exact same time and they haven't been passed. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of chance that it's not going to pass. What's the next step for you guys after this? Or is there a next step?
Oh, absolutely. There's lots of rights out there to defend.
There's your meme right there, the Ken Wisdom meme right there.
Every day there's always rights that are being intruded on in different places, and it's time for the citizens to stand up and say, listen, we want to keep our rights, and I've managed with lots and lots of help from the citizens in Union County to get this passed. The way it's going.
Yeah, the way it's going.
And I think that we'll just pick another right to defend and carry on from there.
All right. Well, they'll pick another. There's lots of rights to defend. Well, thank you,
right.
Ken, so much for joining us here today.
Yeah.
And thank you, LeGrand Alive. We will be right back on your election night live stream with our next interviewee, as well as a few more updates and maybe a little bit of analysis on what's going on with the election night results. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages from our excellent sponsors.
Every day, we here at Grand Ron Hospital see clients with chronic conditions like osteoarthritis of the spine, hips, and knees seeking relief. And while surgery may be the answer in certain situations, recent studies show that physical therapy can be just as effective. Oftentimes, we can't cure these conditions, but according to Vanessa Braden, MPT, strengthening and stabilization exercises are some of the best options for keeping you out of pain and living an active lifestyle. Grand Ron Hospital, big city medicine, hometown touch.
Med Transport Inc. is a dedicated ground interfacility advanced life support ambulance service. We provide hospital to higher level of care transports. We serve all of Eastern Oregon with transport to hospitals throughout the Northwest. We take patients from emergency rooms, ICUs, and med surgery floors to higher level of care and specialty care facilities. Our service reduces the cost on taxpayers, patients, and insurance companies by providing additional transportation options. We also free up tax-based, local, and air first response resources for on-scene and critical care needs. Request Med Transport for your interfacility transport because you have locally owned transport options.
The reason we support local is just because we're from here. I mean, we've been here forever. My dad came from Malao County. I've lived here almost my entire life. This is the only place we'd want to have a business, and this community supports everyone. I mean, it's pretty amazing the way everyone comes together. We support local sports. We've been members of the Optimist Club here in town for about as long as we've been selling furniture. I've played sports my whole life. I think sports bring the community together, so it's a great way to help with the whole community in general.
Welcome back, LeGrand Alive, to your LeGrand Alive Election Night live stream. We've had some excellent interviews so far tonight. We've talked to LeGrand Mayor Steve Clemens, as well as Ken Wisdom, who is the proponent for the yes on ballot measure 3196. He's come in and they both shared their passion about what's going on in these elections. So, Alex, we've had some amazingly big changes in the results, haven't we?
No. One thing to note, folks, results tend to come in slowly. It all depends on the speed at which a certain county election official can process them and deliver those results to the Oregon Secretary of State's office.
Absolutely. Yeah, so let's just give a brief update of where is everybody at?
Well, I'll start with our next interviewee. Mayor Alan Duffy has about twice as many votes as his competitor. Governor Kate Brown is beating Representative Newt Buehler in her re-election campaign. Greg Barretto is winning his re-election campaign against independent Sky Farnham. And Justin Rock is beating Ashley O'Toole for City Council.
All right, so we have we got some stuff going on here. We got some good results, and now we have our next interviewee who's coming here to the studio, but he is not going to be joining us in person. In fact, because he is running for Elgin mayor, he is going to be joining us via the phone. And we have a fun, fancy little doohickey here that we are going to turn on to be able to talk to Mr. Alan Duffy, but it's going to make a cool little noise. So, are you ready for this, LeGrand Alive? I hope you're ready for this, if I can find the on button.
Power on.
Power on! Alan Duffy, can you hear me?
Connected.
Power on! Alan Duffy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. How are you, Alan? We just had you have successfully been powered up. How are you doing tonight?
I was a little nervous, but excited, and just grateful for the citizens of Elgin and their confidence in me.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it seems like the election is going quite well as per the results right now. What are your thoughts on the results right now?
Well, I mean, I think, I ran on my record, and my record shows that we have made great progress, and I think the citizens have seen that and want to continue that progress forward.
Very cool. Now, one of the questions that I kind of wanted to ask you, and because Elgin has kind of had a little bit of a rough time recently. The closure of the mill has really has a lot of power to sort of hit the town very hard. So my question for you, is why is a strong leader as mayor important right now? Why is it important to have strength in the mayoral position? And if you are elected and the results hold, how will you lead Elgin through these sort of economically difficult times with the losing of about half of the mill?
Well, losing the stud mill was they had a very about 90 to 95 employees. A lot of them went back to work for the mill. Some went on retirement. So we didn't see as big an effect as we could have. But it's really important with the plywood mill that we continue to see it operate. And so having somebody in the community that's been a part of that and knows that and can work with them to continue to build up the economic base here is going to be important. And obviously, I've been working with the other mayors throughout the county to continue to work on economic development and attracting businesses, not only to Elgin, but to Union County. A lot of our folks live in LeGrand and other areas, so, we rely on each other. So having that type of relationship is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something, it was a big honor. We had Mayor Steve Clemens earlier, and he said, one of the things he mentioned was he was very, very happy that your election was going the way that it was, because it seems like you have been very involved with other mayors in other communities in Union County. Why has that been a part of your goal as mayor?
Well, as we're one city in Union County, and we're a very rural county. And so small rural cities, I believe, need to band together to work together. And if we can, share our resources or pool our resources to build ourselves up. And that's what we've been doing. And, LeGrand has joined in and is a part of that conversation. So we appreciate Steve Clements and his leadership there. But in a rural county, we're going to have to pull together. If we're not working with each other, we're working against each other, and we can't do that. We can't afford to do that in order to build our county up economically.
Well, there you go. So my last question for you here, Alan. So if the polls hold, or if the results hold, and you are reelected to your next term as mayor of Elgin, what are some of the first actions that you're going to take? What are you going to try and do? Are you going to do things differently, or are you pretty much going to try and continue to do the same thing that you've been doing?
Well, I think we've concentrated on debt reduction, and we have done that very well in Elgin. And again, just building our community. We have a big project for the Elgin Opera House. They have an expansion that's been planned for some time, so we're going to be working on trying to get grants to continue that going. They draw a lot of folks in from all over the place, all over the country, actually, and also the United States. And we're going to be opening our museum with the move of City Hall to our new location. The museum has a new location. That's going to be a draw to Elgin. So we have some work with them that we need to get done to get them built up. And again, economic development, trying to attract more businesses to Northeast Oregon, to Elgin in particular, Union County. That's going to be a priority.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you so much, Alan. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say before we move on to the next section? Anything you'd like to say to your constituents?
I'd just like to say to Elgin, thank you for the confidence that you're showing in me, and we'll continue to work hard for them.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Duffy, and thank you for tuning in and calling in for us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Will.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Power off.
Power off. So that was Elgin Mayor Alan Duffy. And now I want to make this clear. We did reach out to the competitor, to Mr. Duffy's competitor earlier today to see if he was interested, but we did not hear back from him. I'm guessing he was probably busy with something of his election day plans. We did not hear back. And the name of him, it's John
Rutherford.
Rutherford. We did reach out to John, but we didn't hear back from him to come on to the program tonight. So that being said, we're going to take a quick couple-minute break, and we're going to come back with our next interviewee as well as some updated results for you on your election night live stream. We'll see you in a few minutes. LeGrand Alive.
So, we're just looking for some simple photos and videos of our new coffee shop. How can you help us?
We'll shoot the entire thing on a green screen soundstage. We'll have Julie Andrews guest star, and we'll include 3 big band dance numbers sung by the ghosts of Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire.
One word, trans-freaking-formers. Your coffee pot, it's not a coffee pot. It's Roastiest Prime. Also, we're gonna need a Lamborghini.
Johnny Depp, painted in Munch-styled surrealism, is accompanied by Johnny Depp, who is dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, who are being chased by the villain of this story, which will be played by Emma Watson, who is also dressed as Johnny Depp.
I've got my dad's old 8mm camera somewhere out in the shed.
Oh, thank God.
Okay, the hospital just told you you're going out of town for a higher level of care. Stop. Did you know that you have options? If you're being transported to another hospital and your emergency isn't immediate, have the hospital call MedTransport. MedTransport is your dedicated advanced life support interfacility ambulance service. We offer ground ambulance transports with services that save you and your insurance company a lot of money. If you're stable and able to go by a ground resource, we're here for you. So, before you or your loved one gets transferred, stop. Ask for MedTransport because you have options. Hey LeGrand Alive, welcome back to your election night live stream only on LeGrand Alive. I'm here with Alex McHaddon, and we are going to be bringing you the results and some interviews with your local candidates and also some statewide candidates of the November 2018 election. So Alex, what are some of our updates? Let's go through. Where are we at with some of these?
Well, results are just trickling in now. There's been a little bit change in the governor's race. Kate Brown is still leading at about 50 to 45 to Newt Buehler, and about 5 to 6% of voters have chosen third-party candidates, what happened last time in 2016. The congressional race has had some new votes as well tallied. Greg Walden is now leading Jamie McLeod-Skinner by an even larger margin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, we're still waiting to hear back for more local results.
All right. So how difficult is it for something to come back, for someone to come back from a 10% down? I mean, does it happen? I mean,
yeah, it could happen. According to the Secretary of State, only 60% of eligible voters have cast their votes. So right now, that's about 1,600 ballots that they know they've received. At this point in time, I believe, look at the vote tallies. About 1.3 million votes are there, have been cast. So there's 300,000 voters that still haven't had their voices heard on the official tallies yet.
And those 300,000 voters could have sort of an influx or a sort of centralization of some particular candidate, and that could even things out a little bit.
Yeah, it's very likely that a lot of more rural counties haven't had their votes counted yet, so we could see a lot more voters actually choosing Newt Buehler this time around.
Well, there you go. All right. So have we still not heard anything back about the circuit court judge officially?
Not yet.
Man, well, there we go.
Doesn't mean it's not being counted.
Doesn't mean it's not being counted. Well, that's a little bit unfortunate because, hey, it's Mona Williams. She is our next guest in the studio. Mona, you must have snuck in.
Oh, I did. You were looking over my head.
I was looking over your head, but to be fair, with your position, you are way over my head on so many things. So it is okay. So thank you for joining us here today. This is Mona Williams. She is running for Circuit Court Judge here in Union and Wallowa counties, correct?
That's correct.
So I would ask you what you thought about the results, but there's not a lot of results yet.
Wait for it.
No. I don't have a lot of results.
I have some results for you.
Wait a minute.
All right.
I guess we have results.
Do I
This is
want
live. This is happening right now. Mona is hearing the first results.
We only have results for Union County, so
Okay.
it's not official. So far for Union County, the results are 3,800 for West Williams and only about 3,000 for Judge Williams.
Oh, that was very confusing. So, okay, so you are 3,800 to 3,000?
Yes.
Now, that being said, Wallowa County has not been counted yet, and that's where your home is. I mean, what do you think about these results? So there's still an open playing field here.
I think the same thing I thought at the very beginning, and that is that it would be a close race, and it's just going to depend on what the voters, thought about the campaign, and I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
I haven't had an answer from the beginning.
Right.
So.
Well, you've been too busy doing circuit court judge things, right?
I've been working hard, yeah.
Working very hard. So now, that kind of being said, I think one thing that I think is interesting, is a lot of people, especially young people like me these days, they have a very big passion for justice. They're very passionate about social justice, about justice just in general. And yet, when we think of justice and people that represent justice, we don't oftentimes have in our brain our local circuit court judge. So, how does the local circuit court judge fit into sort of how justice is enforced for people who are thirsty for justice? Does that kind of make sense? Like, why does this position being filled well matter?
Well, I think one thing is that trial court judges, local trial court judges, do not have an effect on a large population.
Right.
Basically, the trial court judge is looking at the local population. I'm not going to make a big difference in how things are done nationwide. That's not going to happen.
Right.
But justice and the law, and I think if you go clear back to the beginning, it's about the people and it's about the individuals. And so from that standpoint, a trial court judge has a big effect on how justice affects the individuals who are within the system.
Right.
And so it may not be that I affect a large population, but one of the things that I've learned about the law and about being a judge over my 30 years is that what's important to one person is important. One person comes into a courtroom and what they're there for is all important to them, to that person.
Right.
And so it may be that I'm only affecting justice one person at a time,
right.
but I am affecting justice overall.
Right.
And it's important to each individual to feel like they've been treated well, like justice has served them, and that's my job.
Right, and I think that could be said about just in general local politics. Like you may not have a 400 million person Twitter following, but you do have the power to affect justice or some sort of an effect on one little thing, which multiplies out over the grander scheme of things.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right. Well, very cool. So now my last question. This has been your first campaign, right?
No, actually it's my
second campaign.
I ran for district attorney back in 2006.
There you go.
And that was a contested race.
Well, there you go.
So this is my second.
You've done this once before.
I have.
So have you learned anything from this election or from this campaign? Have you learned anything about yourself, about law or justice or just campaigning? Like what lessons have you learned?
Well, I've learned that it's really hard to do a new job and campaign at the same time.
Right. Job searching and doing the same job at the same time. It's tough.
Yeah, that's been very difficult. A lot of time goes into my work at the circuit court,
right,
and then trying to campaign on top of that. There just were not enough hours in the day.
Right.
But I've also learned some things about myself. I've learned that this campaign was different than the one in Wallowa County, because in Wallowa County, that was my home. Everybody knew me there.
Right.
Here, I'm the outsider in Union
Right.
County. And so I've had to look at it a little bit differently, how to campaign in Union County, how to get out, get to know people. Some people don't know this about me, but I'm kind of shy. So
me too.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah,
They'll probably fire me.
There are times when it's hard to put yourself out there,
Right.
and that's what I've had to do in this campaign.
Right.
So I've learned that I can do that.
Very cool. Well, Mona, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you and just to see you in general. So
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. And LeGrand Alive, we're going to go out to some more commercials here from our excellent sponsors, but we will be right back on your LeGrand Alive Election Night live stream. Your wedding, your child's first steps, him blowing out the candles, her playing in the yard. These are memories, your past, and with all the changes in your life, it's important to remember how it was. We can help with that. At Anything to Digital, we know that memories are far more precious than the tapes they're recorded on. Whatever the memory, whatever the medium, we can help preserve these little glimpses of the good old days so you can watch them again and again. Anything to Digital, let's preserve your memories. Med Transport Inc. is a dedicated ground interfacility advanced life support ambulance service. We provide hospital to higher level of care transports. We serve all of Eastern Oregon with transport to hospitals throughout the Northwest. We take patients from emergency rooms, ICUs, and med surgery floors to higher level of care and specialty care facilities. Our service reduces the cost on taxpayers, patients, and insurance companies by providing additional transportation options. We also free up tax-based, local, and air first response resources for on-scene and critical care needs. Request Med Transport for your interfacility transport because you have locally owned transport options. Welcome back, LeGrand Alive, to your election night live stream only on LeGrand Alive. So before we continue on with our results for the evening, I want to give a couple of quick shout outs to some of our excellent and designated sponsors for the evening. These are people who stepped up today for this live stream tonight. And the first of those is Nature's Pantry. Nature's Pantry is an awesome store. I spend about 86% of my paycheck there because their food is so good and it's super healthy as well. And it's really, really tasty. They're a local, organic, and natural food store owned by Dennis and Linda Clayville right across the street on the corner of Jefferson and 4th Street. They are an excellent store and they stepped up in a big way to bring you this live stream tonight. The second, and speaking of food, the second of our sponsors I want to mention tonight is Thai Fresh Gardens. And I don't know if you knew this, many of you might not know this, but LeGrand does have a specifically Thai restaurants, and a really good one at that. Dara, the owner of Thai Fresh, is a Taiwanese native. She immigrated to the United States, and she brought with her scrumptious and tasty and wonderful and delectable Thai food that she serves to us here in Union County. The food is excellent. It is fresh. My favorite thing is the swimming rama. So if you're ever looking for some Thai food, Thai Fresh Gardens, they are in the underground marketplace right across from where we are currently sitting. So, all right, that's enough sponsors for now. We'll get a couple more later. But Alex, do we have any updates in the elections?
We do. More votes are coming in now.
All right, what do we got?
Well, more votes on Circuit Court have been counted. West Williams now has has widened the gap even larger between himself and Judge Williams.
Huh.
Now he's at over 4,000 votes.
Wow.
Judge Williams is only at 3,400.
Wow. Have we gotten anything from Wallowa County on that yet?
I believe we've gotten some.
Okay, so we are starting to see some Wallowa County ballots be counted.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what it looks like. Also, LeGrand position 6 looks like the only candidate is winning with only 98.3% of the vote.
And which one is this?
Oh, Jim.
Jim Wood.
I don't know.
I think he's that guy that owns that
Blue Mountain.
Yeah, that
I don't know.
thing. Oh, hey, it's Jim.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, look at that. It's Jim. How'd you get in here, Jim?
Somebody say my name.
We must have summoned you with our egregious destruction of your name.
I'm on a PowerPoint presentation. Very exciting. Very, very exciting.
Thank you for joining us, Jim.
Thank you.
This is Jim Whitbeck, who is running for position 6 on City Council, and I'm really curious. You said he had 98.3%. So I really want to know who the write-in was. Was it like a Daffy Duck or like?
Well,
this would be a great moment for like a cut-in to like some ridiculous thing of whoever the write-in was.
Well, the county clerk always keeps a tally of who got votes. So after the election, we'll be able to see just who got written in instead of Mr. Whitbeck.
Well,
We'll pick that conversation up on next week.
Yeah, there you go. But I think the odds are that you are running uncontested. You are going to get this position, and so what do you think of the results so far? Both, I would say of yours, but that's pretty standard. What do you think of the results so far?
Well, I was talking to you earlier. I was helping teach a class at UU, so I'm still kind of I just got back from that, and I'm kind of taking in what's happening at a national level, what's happening with us locally.
Just absorbing information.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of a nerd about this, so I've been watching it for a couple of days, and now it's all happening. And I'm kind of
So, too much information.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I think the results are semi it's kind of done now, right? I mean, most of the votes are
a
in
lot
for the
of.
state,
I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't say most of them, but I mean, historically, a lot of the trends that are happening right now will hold to what's happening there.
Okay.
It has changed. There have been in the past situations where it's changed, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can't say for sure that what's happening now is what's going to happen, but the odds are with it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that, I've been watching at a national level are the Georgia governor race, obviously Beto and Ted Cruz, and in Texas as well. And then on a state level, Measure 105, I am personally, I'm glad that one went down. I guess there's a lot of interesting stuff going on,
Right.
with Jamie getting pretty close, I think, in some ways. Newt came pretty close too, and there's a lot to talk about in some ways, and
Right.
other ways, I got mine, so that's good. I can chalk that up.
There you go. That's the one that matters the most right now. Now, what you probably don't know this, LeGrand Life. This is a little fun fact. I knew Jim before he was cool. I was a Jim fan before he was cool. I knew Jim when he was still living in the downstairs apartment of a friend of mine where I was doing some work on his house. And then that was the point when you were considering doing Blue Mountain Outfitters.
Yep.
And
Yeah, it is.
And now you are running for city council. So I'm sensing a trend of getting involved in the local community. And I guess my question for you is that, you've in a very short time, you've started I would assume a reasonably successful business downtown. You've decided to be involved by running for city council. What drives you to sort of have that passion to be involved in the way that you do? Because you're super involved with things.
Well, I have a passion for the community. LeGrand's been very good to me and my business. You're right. I'm very fortunate. Since I moved to LeGrand, I started a business. I got my master's degree. I got married.
You got married,
and now
yeah.
I'm going to be on city council in a minute. Maybe.
And now you're on LeGrand Alive, which is like the pinnacle
Yes!
of all of them.
I'm here.
Jim's just
I'm
been
here,
like sitting
everyone.
in there
Yeah.
watching it, just waiting. I will be there eventually. Yeah. So you've done a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm very blessed, and LeGrand has provided those blessings. And so, before I decided to run for city council, I was involved in a lot of boards and a number of different things. And in some ways, I guess I kind of saw city council as an opportunity to sort of consolidate those contributions into one place where I thought I could make more of a difference. So before, it was like I was on the film festival board. I was on the Main Street board with Brent. I'm still on the SBDC board. I serve in the Tourism Promotion Advisory Committee.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's a number of different things, and kind of what I'm doing is shuffling those off while I get on to council. So, council being kind of like a larger platform for involvement. And so, whatever I can do to give back, I will. And I'm not necessarily, and I mentioned this at the forum, but I'm not really somebody, who sees myself as having all the answers. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I just, I listen.
You might be in this room. I promise you, you
We're
might be. We're a bunch of film people, dude. Yeah, exactly. Between us, I think you're safe.
No. I mean, that's the thing is it's not really, I don't, and I also I guess I try to approach things with a certain level of humility, and so I'm very fortunate to be able to serve in this capacity, and I thank my blessings, I guess. So
There you go. So now, if it holds, if whoever writes you in doesn't write Daffy Duck in for 99% of the rest of the votes that are going to be,
right,
it's a possibility,
yeah.
but I think we're probably safe. Yeah. What will your goals be when you assume the position on the council? How are you going to go about that?
I think the two main things that I'm really set on are housing is one big one, and this one came up at the forum a lot as well. I think right now, in some ways, Ashley may have been one of the better resources, at least from an expertise standpoint on that, but without that, when there's a housing study that's being commissioned, or happening at the city level that's going to come through and give us a lot more information on how to proceed. So I bring up Ashley just because he's a very strong resource when it comes to housing matters in LeGrand.
Right.
The one that is a little bit more in my wheelhouse that I'm also very passionate about is economic development and kind of striking a balance between small business development, urban renewal, and larger scale economic development, bringing in larger employers into the area, that kind of thing.
Right.
I have, obviously, as a business owner, small business owner, downtown, I have a lot of stake in that, just sort of on an immediate level. But it is one thing that I've watched fairly closely in terms of how the city of LeGrand manages it, and things like the Buxton study or marketplace, or all these different issues that are actually fairly top of mind for a lot of citizens locally. I think I've tried to watch them pretty closely, and I have a pretty good handle on. I don't know. I have a point of view on that one. Whereas like with housing, it's sort of like I'm trying to gather information still, but I think it's a really, really high priority issue. So.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think we're kind of running out of time here, but Jim, you have anything else you'd like to add? Maybe to convince that one person that out there that wrote somebody in, that wrote Daffy Duck in, that they were wrong. Like, what's your final closing statement here?
Put me on the spot. No, I think to be honest, I kind of I want to thank you guys for what you're doing, because I think this is really important, and it shows people that this place matters and people are paying attention and all of that. I just think I really appreciate what you're doing and bringing in the candidates in here. I think it's an important community service, if nothing else. So
right. Well, we appreciate you coming in. So, Jim, thank you so much for coming in and chatting. And thank you, LeGrand Alive. We are going to come right back and do a little bit more result noting, and we'll have our next interviewee on LeGrand Alive. And just so you know, our next interviewee is famous Greg Barreto. We will be tuning in on the phone. We will be chatting with him a little bit about state elections and how they matter to Union County. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages for our sponsors.
Every day, we here at Grand Ronde Hospital see clients with chronic conditions like osteoarthritis of the spine, hips, and knees seeking relief. And while surgery may be the answer in certain situations, recent studies show that physical therapy can be just as effective. Oftentimes, we can't cure these conditions, but according to Vanessa Braden, MPT, strengthening and stabilization exercises are some of the best options for keeping you out of pain and living an active lifestyle. Grand Ronde Hospital, big city medicine, hometown touch.
Med Transport Inc. is a dedicated ground interfacility advanced life support ambulance service. We provide hospital to higher level of care transports. We serve all of Eastern Oregon with transport to hospitals throughout the Northwest. We take patients from emergency rooms, ICUs, and med surgery floors to higher level of care and specialty care facilities. Our service reduces the cost on taxpayers, patients, and insurance companies by providing additional transportation options. We also free up tax-based, local, and air first response resources for on-scene and critical care needs. Request Med Transport for your interfacility transport because you have locally owned transport options. Hey LeGrand Alive, welcome back to your election night live stream only on LeGrand Alive. So we have a very special guest that is going to be tuning in on the phone here in just a couple seconds. But before we do that, Alex, what's going on with the results? Anything of note?
Yeah, so a couple of important races have been called by Politico. The governor's race is being called for Kate Brown. And the congressional race is being called for Greg Walden. Walden is still leading Jamie McLeod-Skinner by about 50,000 votes.
Wow.
Only about 66% of the votes have been counted so far, but it's probably not likely she's going to overcome 50,000.
Unless, again, there is just some small pocket where they're all hiding and they just haven't cast all of their votes.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Well, so now that being said, the Sky Farnham Greg Barreto, where are we at with that?
Greg still leads Mr. Farnham by 8,000 votes.
8,000 votes. How many does Sky have just in general?
About 3,800.
3,800. All right. Well, there we go. So it's about 3,800 to about 11,000 or so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, perfect. So that being said, we have Mr. Greg Barreto on the phone. We are going to tune him in live right now. But before we do, we have to what?
Power on.
Power on and
Connected.
Mr. Greg Barreto, this is Will Bowman. You are powered on and connected to LeGrand Alive's live stream. How are you tonight?
Well, Will, I've had better days.
Oh, really? Care to? Oh, so care to clarify? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
Well, actually, in the Oregon races, it looks like Kate Brown will again retain her position as governor.
Right.
But in the Senate will drop into a super minority more than likely. In the House, it looks. I mean, last time I looked, we were losing 3 incumbent races, so that would put us down 2 points into a super minority also.
Right.
So bottom line, and I don't know the total number of percentage of votes that are counted, but if that's the way this thing ends up, it will be a long 2 years in Oregon. I think you'll see taxes go up, and the Democrats will have what they want.
Right. Now, I believe we do actually have those numbers. Alex, how much? What's the percentage of votes that have been counted?
Well, it looks like 67% of precincts are reporting right now.
67% of precincts are reporting right now. So, and like we were talking earlier, I mean, we certainly can't call anything for sure, but historically, when something is leading this by this much, then there's a good chance that those results are going to hold. Now, that being said, I think that one of the reasons I really want to talk with you here tonight was, you're kind of one of our closest connections with state and national politics that we have in a Union County as a representative, especially because you are Union County's representative. So, I guess my question for you.
Actually, I do represent Union County, but I also represent Wallowa County and
Yes.
part of Umatilla County. So I want to throw that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes, absolutely. All those different counties you are sort of the closest connection that we have to the state politics. And I guess my question for you is, and you kind of already answered this a little bit, but what's at stake for this election, and how will it affect Union County, and what are sort of the biggest things we should be looking for in this election?
Well, my fear all along, and the reason I got into this job was because I wanted to make Oregon a more business-friendly state, and some of the pieces of that working are that you don't overtax businesses, and you make it a good place to live without a high cost of living. And Oregon has already got a high cost of living. We're already business unfriendly. And when you see states go in this direction, they start losing businesses. And going into a potential recession in a couple of years that they're talking about, it doesn't bode well for the state, and especially for rural Oregon, which is still pulling out from the last recession.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so now that being said, we've got some disappointing results happening on the national and some of the wider state elections for yourself. However, you do have a very solid lead in retaining your position as the representative for your state position. Now, if you retain your spot, are you going to do anything differently, or are you mostly going to continue to do what you've already been doing, given the circumstances of what's happening at the state level?
They're pretty much doing what we've been doing, and that is introducing bills, that would be good for Oregon and for rural Oregon. But even it's not going to be a whole lot different in a super minority in the position of most bills, because the Democrats will still have a majority over us. I mean, right now, currently, for the last 2 years, and actually for the last 4 years, we've been in a minority position, at 35-25. This will take us down a couple more notches, and the difference in that is then they can raise taxes without a Republican vote. So that's the big difference, is now there's nothing to stop. There's no firewall to stop. So when we see, like the Measure 97 gross receipts tax, I think what you'll see is the gross receipts tax that probably won't be at 2.5% over 25 million, but it'll be at a smaller percentage, with probably no limit at all as far as the amount that you make. So that's what I'm saying. And you may even see a sales tax. They've already talked about increased taxes on cigarettes, on liquor. So you'll see that come too. But all of this means that the cost of living and the cost of living in Oregon will go up.
Right.
Bottom line.
So for you, it sounds like what you're saying is, for you, in your thought, it's the next 2 years are going to be pretty bleak for rural Oregon.
Well, I don't know about bleak. I don't know that they're going to be much worse than what they have been. All I'm saying is you'll probably see your taxes go up.
Right.
That's the bottom line. You're going to see some other things pass. You're going to see cap and trade pass this year or next year. You'll also see, what they're talking about. One of the scariest bills that they've been talking about for the last 2 years is employer-paid family leave of 12 to 16 weeks. So you see something like that come in, and that will decimate small business.
Yeah.
So these are the things that I'm concerned with. Is the direction of our economy based on maintaining or retaining the number of small businesses we have in the state.
Right. Well, thank you, Greg. I really appreciate it. We're kind of coming to the end of our time for this section here. I really appreciate you taking the time to call in and be live with us.
Well, you're very welcome, and I was really hoping when I got the call from Brent earlier today that I'd have some really good news for you, but I'm sorry, it's out of my control.
Well, you can only do what's in your control, right?
That's correct.
All right, well, thank you, Greg. Appreciate your time, and have a wonderful rest of your night. Enjoy it as much as you can.
Okay, thank you, Will.
All right. And we are
Power off.
power off. That was State Representative Greg Barretto, who is in the lead currently for Union and Wallowa, and what was the other county he mentioned?
Umatilla.
Umatilla County. He is in the lead over Sky Farnham right now by a solid margin. Last time we checked, of about 8,000 votes. That's still about the same.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to come back after these messages and have our next interviewee.
The reason we support local is just because we're from here. I mean, we've been here forever. My dad came from Wallowa County. I've lived here almost my entire life. This is the only place we'd want to have a business, and this community supports everyone. I mean, it's pretty amazing the way everyone comes together. You know, we support local sports. We've been members of the Optimist Club here in town for about as long as we've been selling furniture. I've played sports my whole life. I think sports bring the community together, so it's a great way to help with the whole community in general.
So we're just looking for some simple photos and videos of our new coffee shop. How can you help us?
We'll shoot the entire thing on a green screen soundstage. We'll have Julie Andrews guest star, and we'll include 3 big band dance numbers sung by the ghosts of Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire.
One word, trans-freaking-formers. Your coffee pot, it's not a coffee pot. It's Roastiest Prime. Also, we're in a needle Lamborghini.
Johnny Depp, painted in Munch-styled surrealism, is accompanied by Johnny Depp, who is dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, who are being chased by the villain of this story, which will be played by Emma Watson, who is also dressed as Johnny Depp.
I've got my dad's old 8mm camera somewhere out in the shed. Oh, thank God.
Hey LeGrand Alive, welcome back to your election night live stream only on LeGrand Alive. We are here bringing you the updates and interviews with your local municipal politicians until we get done about 10 p.m. So before we get into our results, I want to say a couple of quick shout outs to a couple of our excellent sponsors who stepped up. Like I said, our designated sponsors who stepped up today to bring you this live stream. They really were very, very cool. So the first place I want to talk about, we've been talking about food in our sponsorship, so we naturally must continue into La Baby Cakes Bakery. La Baby Cakes Bakery is open 7 days a week for you to go get breakfast, lunch, late lunch, and all of your favorite hot and chilled beverages. They are a very, very cool and elegant and luxurious coffee shop right off of Jefferson Avenue above the underground marketplace. It's owned by Spring Roberts, who is a wonderful, wonderful individual who's super involved with the community, and they were gracious enough to donate to bring you this live stream tonight. So thank you, La Baby Cakes Bakery, for your sponsorship. The last one, the other one I want to bring up is Red Cross Drug. Red Cross Drug is on the corner of Depot and Adams Avenue, and they are an excellent place for you to go and get your prescription filled. Don't go to a big box pharmacy, go to Red Cross Drug. They have wonderful customer service. They have excellent, excellent products, and they're always eager to care about you because that's what their logo or what their slogan is, the people who care. And something you could know, they deliver right to your house if you have someone that you want to have prescriptions delivered to on the spot. So that being said, all right, Alex, quick updates. What do we need to know about the results that are happening right now?
Well, Union County residents are voting at a higher level than the state average.
Really?
About 61% people statewide have turned in their ballots. Union County's at 63%. So way to go, Union County.
Beating them by 3%. We're winning.
We're winning something.
So now there is a certain election that the district, I think it's the position 7. Where is that at right now?
Justin Rock is winning with about 55% of the vote to Ashley O'Toole's 45. So
now Justin was supposed to be here. Like he was supposed to come in and do an interview with me, and I haven't seen him. Have you seen him? Seen him around?
I don't know.
There's someone.
He could be.
Someone behind. Oh my gosh, Justin! You can't do that to me, man. You have to let me know that you came in. You even came in mic'd. How did you do that?
Sneaky.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Justin Rock is here to chat with us a little bit about the results and what he thinks about them. So, Justin, thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us, even if you did nearly give me a heart attack by sneaking in. So, Justin, results, thoughts. What are they?
So far, it looks really good. Everything's coming across, and it's close. But we won't know until all the votes are counted.
Right. Now, were you expecting, is this kind of what you were expecting? I mean, what were your thoughts on this?
You never know. You never know. I just gave it out there and did the best I could and let everybody know who I am. And it's up to the voters to decide who they want in there to represent the city.
Right. Now, that being said, you are a pretty well-known business person in the town. I mean, I can speak from experience that you go very out of your way to serve people at your business, to take care of them, just to invest, a lot of your own time. I mean, this guy gets up at I thought I was a mornings person. This guy gets up at 3 in the morning? 4 in the morning?
No, 4:30.
Oh, yeah, 4:30.
Not that early.
That's not that early. But he does it because he goes to work very early and he works very hard at your business. Now, that being said, let's just say that it swaps and maybe you don't get your city council position back. Mm-hmm. What would that mean for you? And would that just open up another opportunity for you to love on your community and to serve your community?
Well, I mean, if the citizens decide that it's not for me to be serving again, I mean, I understand that and I respect their decision. Of course, I just work harder and we'll maybe pay you back in a couple of years.
Well, there you go. So if you were to not win, you might come back.
I don't know. I think I'd take a little break before I decided that one.
Maybe sell some tires.
There we go.
I hear that that's kind of something you enjoy doing.
That's something I do. That's something I do in my spare time.
There you go. So now that being said, you are ahead right now, and if the results do hold, I think one of my questions is if you do win, have you learned anything from this experience, and will you do anything differently?
You always learn from the experience, of course.
Right.
There's a lot of things I probably could have done differently, but I was being myself, so I think I'll just stick with who I am.
Right.
In the future, though, I mean, there's always things I can do different, on the council. Coming up, if I do win, is to push the couple issues that I thought, really close is streets be number one and looking over the urban renewal.
Right.
Come January, as a councilor, we all get together and we have a retreat and we go over these different issues we want to address. And number one, I think, is our streets. I think this next year is pushing and seeing what we can do to repair some of our much needed improvements to the streets.
Right. So there's a lot. So that's one of your big passions is the streets.
It is.
Right.
I think that kind of, everybody tries to accomplish something, but in the past, of course, money is always the number one key player in what we can do. But I think there is a few things that we can improve on, and hopefully, if everything goes well, I'll be helping to solve some of those issues.
Well, there you go. And it's fitting that streets, would be something you'd be passionate about considering your vocation.
Yes. Tires, suspension.
Tires and streets.
Bad streets are bad on tires.
Well, there you go. Well, Justin, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you'd like to say, either to us or to, just Union County and LeGrand in general?
Sure. First off, I just want to thank everybody that voted for me and supported me through this time. It's a lot of extra time besides everything I do, and I really appreciate that everybody has helped me. And definitely thank you, Will, for helping me with the commercials, and you did an excellent job.
Excellent.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Justin. We really appreciate you coming back on and chatting with us. And thank you, LeGrand Alive. We will be right back with the next interview. I believe that we will be having another candidate possibly for Circuit Court Judge for Union and Wallowa counties, only on LeGrand Alive. We'll see you here in a few minutes.
Okay, the hospital just told you you're going out of town for a higher level of care. Stop. Did you know that you have options? If you're being transported to another hospital and your emergency isn't immediate, have the hospital call MedTransport. MedTransport is your dedicated advanced life support interfacility ambulance service. We offer ground ambulance transports with services that save you and your insurance company a lot of money. If you're stable and able to go by a ground resource, we're here for you. So, before you or your loved one gets transferred, stop. Ask for MedTransport because you have options. your wedding, your child's first steps, him blowing out the candles, her playing in the yard. These are memories, your past, and with all the changes in your life, it's important to remember how it was. We can help with that. At Anything to Digital, we know that memories are far more precious than the tapes they're recorded on. Whatever the memory, whatever the medium, we can help preserve these little glimpses of the good old days so you can watch them again and again. Anything to Digital, let's preserve your memories.
Welcome back, LeGrand Alive, to your election night live stream only on LeGrand Alive. Thank you for being willing to watch through our commercials. Those are the people, or some of the people, who are bringing you this live stream tonight. Without their funding and without their support, we could not be bringing you this service tonight. So if you see any of them, give them a big shout out and say thank you for supporting politics and voting in Union County through LeGrand Alive. So I'm not going to read off any sponsors. Alex, we have some more results, and they're a little bit surprising.
Yeah. So first small one, Greg Barretto's lead over Sky Farnham has grown to about 9,000 votes. The other thing is that the gap is closing between the candidates for 10th Judicial Circuit Court Judge. Mr. Williams is leading by only about 350 votes right now, so 51 to 49.
Wow, that's a close race right now.
Yeah.
Some of those Wallowa County votes must have come in since the last time we checked.
That's what it looks like.
It was about a 600 or 700 vote lead last time we checked?
Yeah, no, the results for state representative are also coming from there as well.
Wow, well, there you go. Now, that being said, we have a special someone on the phone, our second of the Circuit Court Judge candidates for the evening, Mr. Wes Williams, who's going to chat with us here. So, that being said, we need to...
Power on.
Power on and...
Connected.
We are connected with Mr. Wes Williams on the phone, who is joining us to chat with us. Hey, Mr. Wes, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Will. Thank you.
Hey, how you doing, Wes? How you feeling, man? You're in the lead.
Yeah, well, we feel good. We're just very grateful to the Union and Wallowa County residents that turned out to vote to express their constitutional right to elect their own judge.
There you go. Now, yeah, that's kind of an interesting, an interesting point that you've made there. You know, you kind of came into this with the premise that Union and Wallowa County should be able to choose their own judge. Why is that important to you, do you think?
Well, it's important for many reasons, but first of all, in Oregon, there's a constitutional right for citizens to elect their own judge. That's been a constitutional right in Oregon since the founding of the Constitution.
Right.
And I also think it's important because it's something I've learned going door to door and talking to the citizens of Union and Wallowa County. What I learned is that democracy is a two-way street. When you run a campaign, you learn what the voters expect in you as a judge.
Right.
And you learn what the voters' concerns are. Before I started this campaign, my thoughts were that a campaign was about the voters getting to know the candidate. But that's only half of the truth.
Right.
It's also about the candidate getting to know the voters.
Right, yeah.
Now, what we've done on this campaign is I've gone out and knocked on doors from houses far out into the country to houses in the suburbs to houses downtown, from Joseph to Elgin to LeGrand to Cove. And that process is humbling.
Right.
And you learn a lot about the people that live in Union and Wallowa County. And there's no other way to do that than by running a campaign.
Right.
And I believed it when I began, and I firmly believe it now. It's vitally important that the candidate get to know the people that he represents. If I'm fortunate enough to become judge, I'm never going to forget the people of Union and Wallowa County support. And it's not going to go to my head. I am really just a farm boy still. And that's just the truth. I'm not trying to pull anybody's leg. I'm nothing special. I just happen to work hard like everybody else does in Union-Wallowa County.
Right, right. Absolutely. Well, yeah, wow, those are very, very profound and very moving words. And it seems like all of that canvassing has gotten you the lead so far, at least. What are your hopes for the rest of the evening? I mean, are you feeling confident? How are you feeling about it?
Well, we really don't know. We feel good right now,
Right,
and we feel like reaching out to the voters really helped.
right.
But really, Will, what strikes me as I sit down and talk with my friends here and my family is that we ran a positive campaign. And I really believe that the voters, if we do prevail, the voters of Union and Wallowa County can hold their heads up high that they voted for a candidate who ran a positive campaign, who never said a negative word about his opponent, and whose supporters never said a negative word about the opponent. We always talked about what I had to offer to bring a better aspect to the judiciary of Union and Wallowa County.
Wow.
And that's what we were about starting in May, and that's what we are about right now. You can every single candidate that runs for office should learn from this. You can win by being positive and trusting in the people. You do not have to be negative.
Yeah.
You can be positive. What I've learned going door to door is most people are very positive. They care. And they want something to believe in. And that's what we've been about this entire 5 months. It's been a long 5 months.
Yeah.
Hot days in summer, I walked up some tall hills to get to the top of Enterprise to shake some hands with people.
Yeah,
and
100-degree days,
windy days here, going out and talking to people. And that's what it's about. It's about being positive. And I just hope that we stop divisive politics, we stop partisan politics, and we start just talking to people and trying to do what they want us to do. And they want us to be positive.
Right.
They want us to solve problems, and that's what it's about.
Well, there you go, man. Very, very profound and moving words, Wes. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm sure you're exhausted, and thank you so much for taking the time to call in and chat with us a little bit. We wish you the best of luck and/or providence for the rest of your evening, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Well, thank you very much for the call, Will. Have a nice evening.
You as well. Thank you, Wes. Always a pleasure.
Bye.
And we are
Power off.
power off. That was Wes Williams running for Circuit Court Judge, and as of before the call, was winning for Circuit Court Judge, though only by a couple hundred votes. Do we have any updates on that number, or is it still the same?
Still the same.
So that is going to be a race that you are going to want to pay attention to on LeGrand Alive. Don't go away, because we have more results and more interviews that are going to be coming up after this break. We'll see you here in just a couple minutes.
Med Transport Inc. is a dedicated ground interfacility advanced life support ambulance service. We provide hospital to higher level of care transports. We serve all of Eastern Oregon with transport to hospitals throughout the Northwest. We take patients from emergency rooms, ICUs, and med surgery floors to higher level of care and specialty care facilities. Our service reduces the cost on taxpayers, patients, and insurance companies by providing additional transportation options. We also free up tax-based, local, and air first response resources for on-scene and critical care needs. Request Med Transport for your interfacility transport because you have locally owned transport options.
Every day, we here at Grand Ron Hospital see clients with chronic conditions like osteoarthritis of the spine, hips, and knees seeking relief. And while surgery may be the answer in certain situations, recent studies show that physical therapy can be just as effective. Oftentimes, we can't cure these conditions, but according to Vanessa Braden, MPT, strengthening and stabilization exercises are some of the best options for keeping you out of pain and living an active lifestyle. Grand Ron Hospital, big city medicine, hometown touch.
Hey LeGrand Alive, welcome back to your election night live stream, only on LeGrand Alive. It has been a wonderful evening. We have had the opportunity to hear from some wonderful candidates, some wonderful people, but we're still not done. Though we have concluded the live interview portion of our evening, we still have 3 more sections of people who we pre-recorded interviews with early on this evening, including some of our biggest hitters, Newt Bueller, Jamie McLeod Skinner, who are going to be coming up here in just a few minutes. But before that, Alex, any results that we should be kept up on? What's going on right now in the result world?
Yeah, Measure 3196 is still doing well. It's leading the No campaign by 1,200 votes.
Wow.
So very unlikely to fail.
There you go. Yeah, especially this late in the evening.
There are about 1.7 million ballots have been cast for governor. There are about, looks to be about 400,000 left. The gap between Newt Bueller and Kate Brown is only 100,000, but it's likely that it's going to stay the same pattern right now. 50% Kate Brown, 45 for Bueller, 5 for third parties.
Right. So now, have we heard anything about the other ballot measures that have been on there, such as the grocery tax or the ban on grocery tax and those things? Maybe you could pull those up for next break.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay? All right. So that being said, we're going to go to the first of our pre-recorded interviews that we chatted with. We chatted with Justin Rock just a few minutes ago, and we chatted earlier today with Ashley O'Toole, who is currently behind Justin by a couple hundred votes, correct? Couple hundred votes. And we chatted with him earlier today, and we're going to go right to that right now. Hey LeGrand Alive, I am here with Ashley O'Toole, who is running for City Council Position 7, and he has graciously agreed to chat with me a little bit about his campaign and some of his anticipations for the results tonight. So Ashley, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me, Will. Thank you very much for putting on the program too.
Absolutely. Now, so how are you feeling right now? Like, how you feeling about tonight and about the campaign in general?
I feel good about the campaign in general. It was quite educational, a heck of an experience. I really enjoyed meeting and talking to a lot of the citizenry here in LeGrand, folks that I know, but also a lot of folks that I don't know. The radio interviews, the newspaper interviews, the second pot episode you and I did.
Yeah, you got all that egg off of your face, right? Like I think I've been finding some in my hair on occasion.
That is all gone, right? The campaign itself has actually been really quite a whirlwind experience, and one that I'm glad to have behind me in some respects, have it kind of in the past and over with, but also just a very learning experience. And, if I win and if 4 years from now I need to run for re-election, or if I want to take this anywhere else, I've learned a lot of really important lessons off of just this campaign. As far as how I'm feeling today, this evening, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. We're a small town. There's no pollsters running around trying to get early results or any anticipation. Of course, the feedback that I've gotten has been really positive about the campaign. I feel like I'm going to win, but I'm also not going to be overly confident or cocky in that at all. I mean, I suspect it's going to be very close. I think win or lose, I think it's going to be pretty close. I wouldn't be surprised if tonight comes down to just a couple of hundred votes or less. So I could say I ran a good campaign, and I know that I've had a lot of supporters of the campaign contributing their own hard-earned money towards this campaign, and I certainly think and I hope that I spent it wisely, and that we can win the day. And I look forward to sitting with City Council in January, hopefully.
Well, there you go. So now you spoke a little bit about some of the lessons. You said you'd learned some things from your experience in campaigning. Could you maybe talk about some of those things that you learned just in general about small town politics? What have you learned from this?
Well, yeah. So small town politics are not small town. Issues. A lot of the different issues are, similar issues maybe some other small towns in our country are experiencing. But to the people that you're talking to, they're very passionate about it, and you wouldn't think that this is small town politics by the passion that people are bringing. And so, I've learned. I think I've learned a little bit of what some of these priorities need to be for our city governance. In that there's a lot of listening to do. And I think a lot of, you see that a lot at these council meetings already when you get folks to come up to the dais and give their 3 minutes about what their opinion is on this particular issue. I've really come to learn throughout this campaign that above all, I think a lot of citizens in LeGrand just want to feel listened to. I don't know if they feel it. Perhaps that's an overwhelming feeling for me because maybe maybe these folks don't get that notion yet. Maybe they don't feel secure in the fact that they're being listened to yet. So, of course, I make no bones about the fact that I am going to be the newcomer to this, and there's still a lot of listening and learning left to do as I hopefully take my seat at council in January. But one thing I've certainly come to learn, it's very clear, is that whoever is sitting on city council in January, they're going to have a full plate. There's a number of issues facing the city right now, and council will no doubt need to be making some tough decisions on a number of issues. I can kind of go into some that I think are going to be maybe a priority for 2019, if you'd like. I think.
Well, that would be the next question I was going to ask you was sort of what your things are going to be. So please continue.
Sure. Well, I think, especially after sitting on the budget committee for a couple of years now, again, learning the importance of knowing and trusting where every dollar goes and how it is spent. I think that, our city manager, city staff, and a lot of our department heads have come together to put together a very solid budget. And I have no doubt that every dollar they're asking for is a dollar that these departments need. At the end of the day, we are still looking at a pretty large budget deficit, and it's going to be tough to find additional ways to cut costs. It's going to be equally tough, if not tougher, to find ways to raise revenue. We can kind of bounce off of another issue that I know is coming up here, dealing with our housing shortage, just not a very large inventory of affordable housing right now. Without there being new construction, we're also not expanding the tax base. The people coming in with their new homes and properties to help pay those property taxes and help close the budget gap isn't happening. So I certainly think 2019 is going to be a pretty tough year when it comes to trying to balance that budget a little more. There's certainly wiggle room, I'm sure, somewhere, but it's going to take a lot of research and a lot more interviews with department heads and fellow council members to kind of figure out what is going to be the best solution here. I think, I hope that we're going to see some motion with the Urban Renewal Agency. No doubt that has become sort of a hot ticket. People love it. People hate it. I think a lot of folks would agree that something needs to be done. I don't think it needs to be completely stripped away or made gone. I think it's a great program that's delivered on a lot of promises. But I also think that the original model that was designed and written in 1999 is probably due for some updating. So I hope I get to be on that team to help very carefully negotiate and figure out exactly how we need to restructure the Urban Renewal Agency.
Right.
Those are probably the three hot button issues ahead of us here this coming year. And if I get elected and I get to sit on that council, we get to have our meeting in late January. We'll take a retreat with the other council members and the city manager to develop the 2019 priorities for city council.
You want to do statewide measures?
Oh, sorry, I got cutting off. We're live.
And we're back, LeGrand Alive. Sorry for that. We had a few technical difficulties on the source of the interview, but the majority of the interview did come through. So that being said, the rest of that interview was essentially Ashley saying a big thank you to LeGrand, how grateful he was for the time and the support that he got in the context of this this particular candidacy. Sorry, I'm struggling with words here. So thank you for staying tuned. Now, what is the current state of that race? Where are they at right now, of Ashley and Justin?
The vote tally hasn't changed. There are about 2,900 counts, and Ashley is still losing. Pull the results up here. Ashley still only got about 45%.
45% to about 55. Now, he did call it. He said it was going to be close either way, and only by a couple hundred votes so far. So now that being said, it's not over until the till the cow sings, as the Union County version of that aphorism goes.
That's right.
But that being said, one thing that was good to note is that Ashley was very graceful and did mention, as you heard in the interview, that he was very thankful win, lose, or draw. So we're going to go away for a couple minutes and come back with the first of our big hitter guests, Jamie McLeod Skinner, who tuned in and called in earlier today, and we did a quick phone interview with her. So we'll be right back after a few messages.
Med Transport Inc. is a dedicated ground interfacility advanced life support ambulance service. We provide hospital to higher level of care transports. We serve all of Eastern Oregon with transport to hospitals throughout the Northwest. We take patients from emergency rooms, ICUs, and med surgery floors to higher level of care and specialty care facilities. Our service reduces the cost on taxpayers, patients, and insurance companies by providing additional transportation options. We also free up tax-based, local, and air first response resources for on-scene and critical care needs. Request Med Transport for your interfacility transport because you have locally owned transport options.
The reason we support local is just because we're from here. I mean, we've been here forever. My dad came from Wallowa County. I've lived here almost my entire life. This is the only place we'd want to have a business, and this community supports everyone. I mean, it's pretty amazing the way everyone comes together. You know, we support local sports. We've been members of the Optimus Club here in town for about as long as we've been selling furniture. I've played sports my whole life. I think sports bring the community together, so it's a great way to help with the whole community in general.
So we're just...
Welcome back, LeGrand Alive, to your election night live stream, brought to you by LeGrand Alive. We are here in the studio bringing you live updates for your municipal and a few state results for what's going on in this election. Now, that being said, before we jump in, we have our first big hitter in the studio right now. But before we do that, I want to give a couple of shout outs to some of our sponsors, some of our designated sponsors that stepped up in a big way to be able to bring this program to you. The first of those being Nature's Pantry. Nature's Pantry is an awesome local organic and natural food store located on Jefferson and 4th Street. They are a wonderful group of people who very much care about the health of the customers that shop at their store. The second one I want to talk about is La Baby Cakes. La Baby Cakes is right next to Nature's Pantry. If you want to go get a smoothie at Nature's Pantry, you can go there. If you want to go get coffee at La Baby Cakes, it's right through the next door. They are a wonderful little coffee shop that has an elegant and a high-class feel, and they are open not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 days a week. And that is a big thing for people who like to get coffee on Sunday. Last big shout out before we go into our next one, I want a big thank you to Red Cross Drug, Kane Lester, who stepped up on the spot earlier today. Red Cross Drug, people who care. They're a local pharmacy, so next time you have a pharmacy, you're at the doctor, don't send your pharmacy and your prescription to Safeway or anywhere else. Send it to Red Cross Drug. So, that being said, Alex, in keeping with the fact that we're going to have our first state interviewee, maybe we should talk a little bit about some of the state measures that have been going on. What are some of the state measures? What are some of the results that are coming through right now?
Right, Measure 102 was about affordable housing bonds. That's winning with 55% of the vote. Measure 103 would be a constitutional ban on grocery taxes, is losing with 57% of the vote. Measure 104 is about a 3/5 legislative majority to approve tax increases, is losing with 65% of the vote. Measure 105, which dealt with local and federal immigration laws and how they interact, is losing with 62% of the vote. Measure 106, which is a constitutional ban on state funding for abortion procedures, is losing with 64% of the vote.
Wow, so we've got quite a big spread there. Now, that being said, Jamie McLeod Skinner is our next interviewee. Now, The difficult part about this is that the race, correct me if I'm wrong, has been called by Politico. And what does that mean, Alex?
It means that based on the election results they've had so far, which is about 67% of all precincts counted, it's very unlikely that Jamie McLeod Skinner is going to win. Greg Walden leads her by about 55,000 votes now.
55,000 votes. So now that being said, we're going to go out to her interview. One thing I want to say about Jamie is that she has been in Union County a lot, been very eager to talk with us here at LeGrand Alive, and for that, we here at LeGrand Alive are very grateful, even despite the fact that she is probably not going to take home the position this election. So, big thank you, Jamie McLeod Skinner, for your time that you gave us here. In keeping with that, here is her interview that she did with us earlier today. Hey, LeGrand Alive, I'm here with Jamie McLeod Skinner, one of the, actually I'm going to start over. It's Congressional District 3, correct? Two, that's right. Two. Okay, I knew it was either two.
Oregon's 2nd Congressional District.
Oregon's 2nd Congressional District, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, LeGrand Alive, I am here with Jamie McLeod Skinner, who is running for Congress, Oregon Congressional District 2, and she has graciously agreed to chat with me for a few minutes here about just what she's expecting and just kind of what the campaign has held for her. So Jamie, thank you so much for joining me here today. I really appreciate your time.
Delighted to be on, Will. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So let's just kind of start off, with the basics here. What are you expecting tonight? Do you have any anticipations? What are your hopes? What's going on in your brain right now about tonight?
Well, I think we've seen a very high level of voter turnout, unexpected for a midterm election, so we're really going to have to wait and see what the actual numbers are. But I can tell you right now, I'm feeling a tremendous sense of gratitude and a sense of hopefulness looking forward. Because really, regardless of the outcome of this race, I've seen a remarkable amount of people coming together throughout our district, across the political spectrum, and really wanting to work hard, work together on caring for our families and communities. I really think that's the path forward. We've seen so much divisiveness in politics as of late, and what I've experienced throughout our district is just the incredible amount of goodness there is amongst people. So I'm very hopeful about the future.
Right. Now, that being said, one of the things I was thinking about with your campaign was that, you really have done quite a bit with not very much. I mean, you've been all over Oregon. You have been to Eastern Oregon. You've been to Central Oregon, Southern Oregon. You've been driving everywhere. I believe in your Jeep, if that's correct. I think you drive a Jeep. I think I saw that in a video somewhere. You've done quite a bit of legwork with not a lot of resources as compared to maybe your competitor. How have you used your resources so effectively to canvas the huge space that is Oregon's 2nd Congressional District?
Yeah, and our district is the 7th largest in the country. It is huge, and I've put almost 45,000 miles on my Jeep and pulled along my teardrop trailer. But we've also really tapped into something that I've seen and experienced from folks across our district and really across the political spectrum, is this hope that we can work together, just focus on the things we can agree on. We really do have shared values. Again, regardless of political affiliation, we care about our families, we care about our communities, and tapping into that has really ignited something. I've got over 2,600 volunteers on my campaign, and so the resources that we've had to tap into of neighbors talking to neighbors, and conversations across the dining room table, positive conversations about how we can work together to move forward and heal some of the political divides, is something that I've seen a real hunger for, and I've tried to reflect that, and people have really responded to that.
Right, absolutely. So, let's talk a little bit about results. So, this is it's always difficult running as a Democrat in a largely right-leaning district. If say tonight that the polls or the votes do not go with you, do you have hopes for the future? What would be your goals? Are you thinking about maybe coming back next year, or have you even thought about that?
Well, I'll first just say a couple things about the premises you've laid out.
Right.
40% of the voters in our district are not affiliated, not registered as either Democrat or Republican.
Right.
So most of the folks in our district are really independent-minded and independent-leaning,
Right.
and are very much idea-focused rather than kind of political buzzwords. And folks across our district also like term limits. They're frustrated with the divisiveness and the roadblocks they're seeing in politics and the
Right.
focus on party politics. And so that's something that's really true for me, but for most of the folks I've talked to as well, regardless of their party affiliation.
Right.
The other thing for me is I'm really proud that I'm endorsed not just by the Democratic Party of Oregon, but also the Independent Party of Oregon and the Working Families Party as well. So it's really spoken to that piece of bringing folks together, building coalitions, and finding the basic things we can agree on: healthcare, education, economic development, caring for our veterans, those kind of things. That's
Right.
been really key.
Right, right.
And so that momentum, I think, will carry forward, really, regardless of the results of the election. There is now a demand for accountability of our representative, whoever he or she may be.
Right.
And that, I think, is really healthy in politics. So the sense that our elected officials must be accountable to our communities and must be accountable for addressing the things that impact our families and our communities. That's a really positive result of this. For my own plans, we'll see what the results are. I intend to continue to work to build healthier and stronger communities, and we'll see what that looks like going forward.
Right.
Either if I'm honored to represent our district, or if I'll be working on some of those aspects within our district, and possibly running again in the future. But
Right.
we really need to kind of figure out what the results are tonight. But the overall focus and the overall purpose will really remain the same.
Right, right, absolutely. Now, that being said, if you do come out on top here, like we say tonight, you do, the election favors you, and you do come in, and you are the new representative for Oregon's 2nd Congressional District. What are going to be some of your first action points and goals that you're going to pursue?
Okay. And actually, the very first thing I'm going to do, and this is more of a symbolic thing, but tomorrow morning I will drive out to Burns to participate in one of the public meetings, just to make a strong statement to Eastern Oregon that I plan to show up and represent. But then going forward, the big things that I've talked about throughout my campaign are healthcare, educational opportunities, and economic development. One of the first pieces of legislation I would love to carry, and this is to really set the stage for moving forward on healthcare, is to carry legislation that would make it so that everyone in Congress only gets the level of healthcare as the majority of their constituents. That, I think, would really light a fire under Congress to actually get something done in that regard.
Right.
The other piece is to really look at economic development. Almost half the people in our district live at or near the poverty line. And so there are many different areas that I found from speaking with farmers and ranchers, also folks in Chamber of Commerce and businesses, small business owners across our district, on things that they think are important to move forward. And a lot of that is investment in infrastructure and infrastructure development. And then another big thing for our farmers is pushback on these tariffs. So really pushing the president to stop the tariff wars and help us move forward constructively and protect the foreign markets relationship we have for our farmers and ranchers.
Right. There you go. All right. Well, thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate your time. Do you have anything else that you would like to add, speaking to LeGrand Alive on our election night live stream here?
Yeah, and I don't know how many folks are actually country music fans like I am, but there's a great song, Luke Bryan's song, Most People Are Good. I would urge people to think of that or to listen to that song because, people get pretty fired up around politics, and I would just hope that folks would take a really positive message, really from my campaign, but from the other campaigns around as well. We ultimately need to work together, build healthier and stronger communities, and that's really politics at its best. And I hope that folks keep that as a focus. So there'll be some happy people and some unhappy people later tonight, not just based on my race, but others as well. But really keep this focus on working together across party lines, focusing on the goodness in each other and the things we can focus on and work together on. That's where we really need to go. Get beyond this divisiveness and go out there and just take care of each other.
All right. Well, thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate your time, and thank you, LeGrand Alive. This has been Jamie McLeod-Skinner running for Congressional District 2, and we wish you luck and Providence, Jamie, and we'll see you next time, maybe in the future, as the new Congressional District 2 representative.
All right. Thanks, Will, and thanks again, LeGrand Alive.
So there's these things in film production we like to call retakes. Sometimes we do them, sometimes we have to, and sometimes Will, in his hurry to get the election night live stream media prepared, forgets to cut them off. Thank you, LeGrand Alive, for being patient with our small town broadcast. So that being said, that was Jamie McLeod-Skinner, who graciously gave us an interview earlier today. Alex, what's our final call on the Jamie McLeod-Walden race right now?
Well, it looks like the race was called a little while ago. Jamie McLeod-Skinner's got about 40% to Greg Walden's 56%. And there's an independent candidate with about 4% of the vote right now.
Well, there you go. So that being said, thank you, Jamie, so much for your time. If you're watching, which you're probably not, but that's okay. We're going to thank you anyways. Now, I want to mention we did reach out to Greg Walden and asked him if he was interested in tuning in or calling in or sending us some sort of a release. We did not hear back from him with that release. He said he was going to send us one, but we have still not received that release just yet. So if we get it before the end of the program, we will read it to you. If not, we will just have to maybe try and get it to you via some other medium tomorrow. So we're gonna go away for a couple more minutes, and we're gonna come right back with our last interviewee of the night, Newt Bueller, who ran against Kate Brown for the governor of Oregon. We'll be right back after these messages.
Looking for some simple photos and videos of our new coffee shop. How can you help us?
We'll shoot the entire thing on a green screen soundstage. We'll have Julie Andrews guest star, and we'll include 3 big band dance numbers sung by the ghosts of Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire.
One word, trans-freaking-formers. Your coffee pot, it's not a coffee pot. It's Roastiest Prime. Also, we're gonna need a Lamborghini.
Johnny Depp, painted in Munch-styled surrealism, is accompanied by Johnny Depp, who is dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, who are being chased by the villain of this story, which will be played by Emma Watson, who is also dressed as Johnny Depp.
I've got my dad's old 8mm camera somewhere out in the shed. Oh, thank God.
Okay, the hospital just told you you're going out of town for a higher level of care.
Welcome back. Welcome back to your election night live stream, LeGrand Alive. We are on our final interviewee of the evening. We are going to be hearing from Newt Bueller. He graciously gave us a few minutes earlier today to talk with us a little bit about his campaign. Now, that being said, before we do that, I want to give a big shout out to our 2 other designated sponsors for the night who stepped up in a big way to bring you this stream tonight. And those people were Thai Fresh Gardens. Did you know LeGrand actually has a Thai restaurant? It's in the underground marketplace and the food is fantastic. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, my favorite is the swimming rama, which is a pile of spinach and broccoli and tofu and rice, all covered in a wonderful peanut sauce that you can eat with a spoon. All of it is genuine Thai food brought to you by Dara, who is the Thai owner of the restaurant, who is exceptional at cooking. So Thai Fresh Gardens, big shout out to them. And the last person that I want to give a big shout out to is, oh, that's right, the Union County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for the Union County Chamber of Commerce. They stepped up in a huge way today. They were great. Bob Kavanaugh, Cody Gray, as well as Kelly Burley down there. Bob does an exceptional job at connecting people to connect business. Bob knows that people are the glue that holds this Union County together, and they do a wonderful job in connecting this small town and bringing and promoting business and tourism in our little county. Thank you, Bob and Cody and Kelly at the Union County Chamber of Commerce. So that being said, our next interview is Newt Buehler, which also that race has been called by Politico. Alex, what are the numbers at right now for that?
Ooh, well, they're not very good for somebody. Newt Buehler looks like he has about 45% of the vote. Kate Brown still has around 50, and then around 5% have voted for independent candidates. This is kind of the way it's gone for the last 3 elections. Bud Pierce in 2016 couldn't hit 45 or couldn't get past 45. Dennis Richardson, now Secretary of State, couldn't get past 45 in 2014 against John Kitzhaber. Each time, the winning Democratic candidate has only won 7 counties and still managed to carry the state.
Wow. And it's the same 7 counties, right?
Most the same.
Mostly.
There's a couple that switch each time.
Right.
It's the Portland and Eugene areas, Hood River, that are always going for Democratic candidates.
Right. So that being said, chatted with Newt earlier today, and he was very, very firm in his belief that it was going to be a close race. Let's watch that interview, and then we'll break it down when we come back. Hey, LeGrand Alive! Thanks for tuning into the election night live stream. I am here chatting with Newt Buehler. Earlier on in the day, it was about looks like about 1 o'clock right now, and he is eagerly anticipating the evening coming along, I would assume, and seeing what the election results are going to be. So, Newt, thank you so much for joining me here today. How you feeling? Are you ready for tonight?
Oh yeah, it's very exciting. We feel a lot of momentum in the campaign. The wind's at our back, so to speak. We've been traveling the state the last 10 days, 9 counties, 30 different spots. So as you can imagine, we've met a lot of people and a lot of enthusiasm for the Buehler campaign, mainly for a single reason. People want change. They're frustrated at the lack of improvement in solving many of these problems that have been avoided, ignored, and made worse by Governor Brown. I intend to bring that change that the state so clearly needs.
Right. Now, you have very much been doing quite a bit of traveling. You guys have been pretty much everywhere. You were over here in Eastern Oregon. You've been had a very strong presence across Oregon. Has that been intentional? Is that part of your goal, was to get in a lot of places, as many places as you could?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel strongly that this divide between urban Oregon and rural Oregon is artificial and created by status quo politicians in Salem. It shouldn't be part of our political landscape, so to speak, that we need to bring people together, close the achievement and opportunity gap. And I intend to be that governor who leads for all of Oregon, no matter where you live. Interestingly, in the debate in Medford, we are both asked the question, would you commit to visiting every county in Oregon every year like Senator Wyden does? And I said, absolutely enthusiastic. Yes, I enjoy getting around and traveling in Oregon. But Governor Brown said no, she would not commit to visiting every county in Oregon. I think that demonstrates the different leadership styles between Governor Brown.
Right. So now, by the time this video is going to be watched, we are going to be, some of the election results are going to be in. So what do you anticipate for tonight? What do you anticipate for seeing coming tonight?
Yeah, we anticipate a close victory. That's what all our data is showing, the word on the street, and that's what we feel here at campaign headquarters. So we are anticipating a historic win for Oregon tonight.
Wow. Okay. So nothing big. Now, that being said, whatever that happens tonight, campaigning is quite an adventure from what most politicians have told me. Have you learned anything from this campaign? What's kind of been the things that you've taken away from doing this campaign?
Yeah. Great question. I've learned from talking to people from all walks of life, all across the state of Oregon, that people are frustrated frustrated that we have so much promise in Oregon, not to mention record revenue, but our big problems like our underperforming schools, taking care of vulnerable foster kids, dealing with our budget and taxes in a sane way is just not moving forward, and people are frustrated by that, and they don't want to argue, to tell you the truth, about a big government or small government. They just want a government that works, a government that's as innovative, as wise, as thrifty as the people who live here.
Right, right. They're not looking for an ideology. They're just looking for something that actually works.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Okay. So now that being said, let's be optimistic here. If you are coming out on top tonight, say that, right now it's probably about a little after 9, maybe 9:20 or so, as per real time. If you're in the lead and you do ultimately come out with the win tonight, what are going to be some of your first goals, your first action points if you decide you are going to be in office, or if you win the office?
Yeah, my very first day, in the morning, I'm going to name my Chief Homeless Solution Officer, the person who is going to be the single person who is accountable for implementing my vision to end homelessness in Oregon. Right now, there's way too many scattered efforts across the state. It needs leadership from a governor to align these interests to solve this problem. And in the afternoon, I'm going to reorganize the Oregon Department of Education, underperforming agency for way too long. We need new leadership there. We need someone who's going to carry out the vision to lead Oregon schools from the bottom 5 in the nation to the top 5. Too many kids right now under Governor Brown are slipping through the cracks, being left behind and left out because of underperforming K-12 schools.
Wow. All right. So you're not going to go play golf tomorrow?
No, we're going to celebrate tonight, Will, and then tomorrow morning I already have scheduled with the team a 7:30 a.m. breakfast meeting. We're going to roll up our sleeves and start solving these big problems.
That sounds awesome. Well, Newt, thank you so much for agreeing to allow us to do an interview with you. We wish you the best, and we will hopefully be talking to you more in the future if and when you win this election.
All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Will.
All right, and back to you, LeGrand Alive. And that was my interview with Newt Buehler, the Republican candidate for the governor of Oregon. Very, very high hopes, but unfortunately it looks like the results of tonight's elections are not in his favor. Looks like he is behind about 45% to about 55% or 50% with Kate Brown in the lead for the governor of Oregon. That being said, one of the things I always appreciated when I got the chance to talk to Newt was he had a very clear, distinct plan, and he had very clear goals of what he was going to do tomorrow. So thank you so much, Newt, if you're watching, for your time that you gave to us earlier today, and we wish you the best luck in Providence, whether win, lose, or draw. So that being said, that concludes this evening's broadcast, your election night live stream on LeGrand Alive. Alex, let's go through all of the local and then the state elections one by one. Where are we at with everything one more time before we go home?
Well, one we haven't talked about tonight is a ban on certain marijuana businesses in the city of Imbler. That's winning with about 73% of the vote, which means 90 people voted yes on this ban.
This is true.
Yeah, but those are 90 very important people because they all voted.
Yes, they did.
So thank you very much, Imbler citizens, for participating in our democracy. At this point in time, it looks like Ashley O'Toole is still going to lose to Justin Rock for city council. Alan Duffy is going to remain mayor of Elgin. Steve Clements had a very hard fight against nobody, but it looks like he got a little more than 99 or 98% of the vote. Something
As
like
did
that.
Jim, the other person who was running uncontested.
Yeah, good for him. We talked about the governor's race results. Greg Walden's got about a 56,000 lead over Jamie McLeod Skinner. So he's projected by the Associated Press to win his seat. Greg Bretto has about 10,000 more votes than Sky Farnham for state representative. Wes Williams is beating Judge Williams in the re-election battle by about 400 votes. Measure 3196 has 1,200 more votes than the No campaign. And then statewide, it appears that Democrats have won 38 out of 60 seats. They only need 36 for a supermajority, so they'll have a 38-seat supermajority in the House of Representatives.
Wow. So which means what?
Which means what? Well, Representative Greg Bretto gave a list of likely policies they're going to propose earlier. He mentioned such things as a statewide sales tax and cap and trade. Cap and trade is a system basically where companies sell or there's a dollar amount applied to the carbon that your business emits, and then you basically sell the right to say whether or not you emitted certain amounts of carbon to other people.
And how does that tie back to the super?
Right.
Well, everyone's going to have a carbon market here. The supermajority is something that Greg Bretto mentioned that he thinks is going to be proposed in the next session.
Right, right. So now that all being said, we cannot predict, we cannot say for sure which way any of these particular elections are going to go, except for the uncontested ones, which I think we can say with some certainty that they are going to go in a particular direction. Outside of that, there is still openness for change. Do not take these final numbers as gospel. Continue to check in as the night goes on. We will not know until tomorrow what the final numbers are, which you can find out on your weekly Newsish Roundup, which will be coming up on Thursday on the Grand Alive. So with that, Alex, we're done. We are like, it's over. Like the cow is singing. I think I could hear it. It's somewhere out by Somerville.
I need a hamburger.
Well, there you go. And the cool thing about this was I got to wear my Snoopy tie, which I have been wanting to wear for so long, but I couldn't because we have a blue screen, and the blue screen was not friendly to my tie. So,
Commented about the tie.
oh, and it looks like someone commented about my tie on Facebook. I don't know what the comment was, but thank you. Thank you for noticing my tie. So, with that, thank you, LeGrand Alive. I want to give one more big shout out to all of our sponsors for this evening's broadcast, starting with Eastern Oregon Network, Inc., Nature's Pantry, Thai Fresh, Le Baby Cakes Bakery, Red Cross Drug, Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Grand Ronde Hospital, Anything 2 Digital, Med Transport, and last but certainly not least, Union County Chamber of Commerce. And thank you, LeGrand Alive. Like I said at the beginning of this program, by being involved in municipal elections, you are having more of an effect on our political system than you would if you just voted in national elections. It's great to be able to sit down and have coffee with the people who are going to be holding offices for your particular city. So, thank you one more time, LeGrand Alive. We will see you next time on LeGrand Alive on our election night live stream whenever the next election comes up. We will... Oh, and the other thing is if you are interested in watching the game this weekend, LeGrand High School will be playing at Gladstone. We're going to be going live at 6 p.m. We are traveling there. Big shout out to some of our sponsors who stepped up to be able to provide us for that trip. So 6 p.m. Friday, we will be broadcasting LeGrand High School football versus Gladstone at Gladstone. Be sure to tune in. One more big shout out to you, LeGrand Alive. Thank you, and we will see you next time on LeGrand Alive. I'm Will Bowman, and...
I'm Alex McCadden.
And we're the Tie Guys. We'll see you next time.